I'm Sam. I created a video a year ago about how to turn strangers into friends, and I wanted to update and kind of elaborate and also talk about new perspective and insights that I developed in the past year. So in terms of housekeeping, I wanted to talk about what my mindset is for friendship, and kind of just talk about like friendship is something we want, it's not something we need. Friends are really important, and they bring us joy, they bring us laughter, they give us depth and dimension and help us grow as people. But that doesn't mean we need friendships for those stuff. We can find enjoyment in like other relationships. We can kind of do it ourselves. I'm not saying that friendship isn't important. I'm just saying that we don't need friendship. And it's really important to kind of walk into a friendship with that mindset, because we need to walk into a friendship with equal footing, that we need to put in effort, they need to put in effort, and it's a two-way street. So that's something I wanted to state outright. The second thing I wanted to state was not everyone has the capacity to be your friend. Not everyone wants to be your friend. And it doesn't really determine your self-worth. It doesn't determine like how valuable you are. It's just people don't have the capacity, and that's okay. It could be you're looking for friendship in the wrong places. It could be you're doing something wrong, maybe. But that doesn't mean you have no value as a person. It's just that friendship is not going to work out, and that's okay. And so I want to talk about my new insights and new perspectives. And something I stumbled upon relatively recently was I like to think of friendship through the lens of comfort. You're comfortable being yourself around them, they're comfortable being themselves around you, you're comfortable with sharing, they're comfortable with sharing. Comfort is a very central idea of what friendship is, and a lot of people might like correlate that with trust. Like you need to trust the person, the other person needs to trust you. But I think I don't really like that frame as much, because trust is a very vague thing. It's a very abstract concept. It's hard to gauge. Like, how do you gauge whether someone trusts you? You can't really know that unless they tell you, and even then they can lie. But with comfort, it's really easy to tell, because you can tell whether someone is comfortable with you by the way they talk to you, the way they express themselves through facial expressions, body posture, body language. Like, there's different levels of comfort, and there's always is. There's different levels of trust. But like, it's just a very like something I've thought of was very like profound, I guess, in the sense of like, if you're into, it's also really helpful for first time encounters and like new friendships, because you can gauge whether someone wants to be a friend through how comfortable they are talking to you, or how comfortable they are interacting with you. If you approach someone and they have their guard up, you need to respect that they don't really want to talk to you. And if you respect that, you can always find another time to actually create that friendship. Because if they want to be friends, they will reciprocate some level of interaction. So first off, if you want to be approached, you need to seem approachable. You need to seem like you need to be in the right places. I wanted to kind of put a caveat to that, is that I don't really have online friends, so I'm speaking more of a in-person kind of perspective, because I do talk to my friends online, but I never developed any friendship through online methods. So this is very in real life kind of thing. So if you want to develop friendships in real life, one, you have to seem approachable, and you have to seem like you're like really ready to talk. That's one thing. But if people aren't approaching you, you always have to approach people. And to approach, you need to learn to approach the right people, because sometimes if in a group setting or in a social setting, some people will stand close to their friends and close the group, and then they won't like want to engage with people outside the group. You need to respect that, and you need to not engage. Some people will be a bit more open. They'll be facing outward from the bar, or like they'll be facing towards the floor, like towards the center of the room, and they will be looking to talk to people, and those are the people you should approach. Once you approach them, then you can start creating some friendship by, so I'm speaking from an Asian context, is some people are uncomfortable with compliments, so you don't need to start off with compliments. You can start off with observations and then segue into questions, and then when you start asking questions, once they share their opinions, you also need to share yours, because like I said, it's a two-way friendship, two-way effort. You need to share something for them to share something, and if they share something first, you need to like reciprocate that and share something with you. That's how like that dynamic works. And I wanted to also like kind of say that like with long-term friendships, you can grow deeper. But you have to communicate those expectations, because there's always, with long-term friendships, there's already expectations in place. And if you want to like grow the friendship, you need to communicate that you want to change those expectations, so you go deeper. For example, if you never call your friend and you want that closeness, you want that intimacy, you have to establish that, oh, can I call you on this time? I want to talk to someone. Or like, can I call you on this time because I wanted to kind of share my opinion? Like, expectations is very important for friendships, and it helps like strengthen the level of comfort level, because they will tell you if they're not comfortable with it, and if they tell you that, then you need to respect that. And so that's kind of my kind of understanding of friendship, especially long-term friendships, that like communication is very important, and like you need to respect expectations. There's also like, so when first meeting new people, you also need to kind of slowly interact with them. For example, you can, it's all about reciprocation, and it's all about bits for connection. When you comment on someone's, from the previous video, I talked about someone's shoes, or you talked about like complimenting someone. Depending on context, complimenting can be uncomfortable, especially from an Asian background, but it can be helpful because you can gauge, especially in person. You can gauge, oh, I really like your shoes, and then gauge their response, and then if they kind of respond positively, you can go like, oh, by the way, what did you think of, like in a social setting, like what did you think of like this particular movie, or what did you think about this like weather? Like, it's very it can seem a bit shallow, or like it can seem a little bit like small talk. It can be small talk, but I think the problem that a lot of people forget is that you need small talk because you need to establish a level of comfort with each other before you start diving into the deeper stuff. Not everyone is willing to, like, some people are willing to share very off the bat, very willing to share their deepest, darkest secrets. That's not a lot of people. And the people who do that have no boundaries. That's called trauma dumping, and you don't want to do that necessarily. I'm not saying you can't, in one conversation, you can't start talking about those deeper stuff, but it is a little bit of, you need a lot of reciprocation, and you need to share. Like, you need both parties to share and both parties to communicate like that genuine, oh, I want to learn about this, you want to learn about this, oh, this is my thoughts, those are your thoughts. Friendship is a two-way street. If you're just trauma dumping on someone and expecting them to do the same, it's very difficult for, like, it's very intense, for one. And the second thing is, when it's very intense, people can walk away that interaction feeling reeling, feeling very uncomfortable, and they will try and avoid you from going forward because that's not normal. So that's one thing. I think I really wanted to talk about like social expectations, where you need to communicate when you like go against social expectations. And social expectations are very set from the beginning. And it's not that you can't break them, it's just that you have to communicate when you break them, because you want to always ensure that both parties are comfortable with the idea of moving the friendship deeper, moving the friendship forward, moving the friendship to a different direction than was expected. So it's really important to do that. And I think the reason why I'm like talking about this is because one of my recent experiences, I experienced a lot of different scenarios where people haven't been communicating like the expectations and getting really hurt by certain like actions, certain like words, and it's kind of self-inflicted when you don't communicate your own expectations, and it's also kind of self-inflicted when you don't expect someone to maintain your expectations but they go the other way, because like I said, friendship is a two-way street, and it's very important to remember that. I think like one more thing that I wanted to talk about was the idea of value, because I was given the impression, or someone gave me the impression, that they thought they needed to bring value to the friendship for the friendship to be genuine. And I don't think that's true. From my perspective, I don't think that's true. That's not what friendship is about. Friendship is about sharing your life with someone that's not your romantic partner, that's not your family. It's just sharing your life with someone. And it doesn't have to be always like super deep and like super like oppressing. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It does mean that sometimes, but like it could be just joy out of like spending your time with someone. It could be joy of like talking about random like dramas or like TV shows or like movies with someone. Like those are still genuine friendships. And I think the idea that you have to bring value to a friendship for them to treasure you is a little bit warped. But like I just wanted to kind of express that I genuinely love all my friends, but like that doesn't necessarily mean I will share everything with them all the time, because friendship is not necessarily like unfiltered access to my mind. That's not what friendship is. Friendship is just like being there for each other when communication is established. I think that's what genuine friendship is. And I think, I'm not sure if this video really helped anyone, but I just wanted to express that like you do, friendship is effort, and it's about slowly creating a level of comfort for both parties, in eventually going to that point where you do just share your lives in parallel. Anyways, that's kind of my spiel. I hope this was useful. Let me know if you want to see more of this in the comments below, or like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.